Well, hey Gundam fans, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. For this video, we're going to be talking about Gundam side story Blue Destiny. Blue Destiny started out as a 3-part Sega Saturn game. It was re-released as a side missions for PS3, and it's been seen in other various media, and also from where I learned about it was from GBO2, the Blue Destiny Gundam was shown up there. But there's a lot to Blue Destiny and how it impacts the overall UC. So let's get started. And real quick, if you haven't, please subscribe. And by the end of the video, if you think this is cool, please, give it a like. All right, and here we go. Just want to show real quick. Again, this was a series on Saturn. It was about 3 games that followed a specific story, but it had some cool first-person cockpit view that wasn't really done that much. And being on the Sega Saturn, the graphics maybe at the time were amazing, but it didn't age too well, and so they have remade it. Now, it was also remade into a manga, so this was back in 96, I believe. And so the game came out around 96, and that's when actually then they released the manga, which just follows the story. So for those that didn't have a Saturn or didn't feel like playing the games, they had another opportunity to get through the story and learn about the events and what happens. And here's a quick shot of some gameplay, just to get an idea of how it looked. It looks pretty cool. I kind of like the retro look compared to what we see nowadays. But what's interesting is a lot of the different events of when this took place, the characters involved. So this is from what I understand, around North America in 0079, but around from August to December, or November, December, I believe. Now, it all starts with this Trust Moses. Yeah, that's his name. Again, a Gundam name. But he was an engineer for the Principality of Zeon, and he actually worked at the Flanagan Institute. So if you remember correctly, the Flanagan Institute has to do with Newtypes, cyber Newtypes. But what he was doing was building a system that would, in effect, make the pilot, that is an old type, into a new type, and they called that the exam system. So we meet Marion Welch, and what's interesting about her character is she worked for Zeon, and she wanted to work with Chulst Moses. If I'm saying his name right, Chlust Moses, whatever. And so his whole thing was he wanted to make the exam system so that an old type could perform just like a new type, because he didn't like new types. Now, she didn't like what he was actually doing once she got involved with the exam system project, but an accident occurred and her soul actually somehow got integrated with the exam system and left her in a coma. Now, eventually, Chlust leaves the Principality of Zeon, defects to the Federation, and he brings his technology with him. This is when we meet Yu Kojima. Yu. And from what I understand, what I've looked up and researched, his name is Yu because the idea was for you, as in this first came out as a video game, and so the idea is that you are the pilot, it's you. And the pilot didn't talk in the game. So I think that's kind of an interesting way they went about it. And as it goes with his history, he participated in the Battle of Loom, and also he was in 0093 when the asteroid was to hit Earth. He actually noticed what was going on. He was out in the battle, and he actually went and helped Amuro and the others, even Zeon, push that asteroid. So that's cool that he was involved in it, and what kind of triggered him to be involved was what he witnessed from before with the story of Blue Destiny. So it started with an RGM. So that's what's very interesting about this. It's not a Gundam at first. It's a GM, and it's this RGM 79BD0 Blue Destiny Unit 0. We can kind of get a look at it. It looks very cool here. This was the first to use the exam system, and it was built into the head. And that was developed into the RX 79BD1 Blue Destiny Unit 1. So here we see, we still got a GM, but this time it has some interesting blue to it. It's more noticeable. Also, I think a lot of the design aspects are very reminiscent of 08 MS Team, kind of the ground unit style. Now, its next form was the RX-79BD2 Blue Destiny Unit 2. Almost like what we saw before it turned blue, but this time it's got the V-fin. It's got more of that Gundam look. So we're seeing a ground type GM look with a Gundam look to it, and I think it's an awesome look. I'm saying look a lot, but I mean, it's very awesome. When it was stolen by the Principality of Zeon, it was piloted by Nimbus Schertzen. Okay, Nimbus is his name. Okay, and so this is Nimbus. He was actually part of that exam program, but he had a different unit that he was using. Here it is, the MS-08TX exam, Efreet Custom. So looks awesome. I mean, just looking at the design of that, just everything about it, the Xeon look, and it's based on the MS-08 Efreet. And here's what the standard one looks like. And again, if you play GBO2 right now, free to play on PlayStation, you'll see the Efreet. There might be a custom, I haven't looked that up. I know I don't have it. I do have a Blue Destiny, but this, it's pretty cool. And I think this is also one that was used also by the Noisy Fairy group, in Code Fairy. Yeah, Helena Hagel from Operation Code Fairy. And so just how it happens to be is we have the Federation in North America. Xeon is starting to back off because of what's occurring. The Federation's getting the upper hand. They're starting to introduce mobile suits, and they have all these experimental ones around. And all around, I guess, the Earth sphere, specifically on Earth, they're developing these different prototype mobile suits, some mainly to be sent to Amuro Ray. I don't know if that was the sole reason that a lot of these were developed. If you want to think about like the Alex NT1, and again, it seems like a lot of these Gundams were developed with a Newtype in mind, like the NT1. Interesting with the exam though, because the idea of it is for an Oldtype to have abilities like a Newtype in the mobile suit. And so important to note that it took place in North America. I could be incorrect on some of this. From what I researched, there were different areas within North America, from the East Coast to the West Coast. On the East Coast, in Georgia, is actually where the Newtype labs are, and that's where they had this Blue Destiny unit. That's where they were doing the tests, because when that guy's name, Clust, who knows how you pronounce that, came over and defected over to the Federation, and he brought exam stuff with him. This is then when Xeon knew what was going on, and Xeon had to go to that base and steal back, destroy whatever they could, and Nimbus was actually able to steal that Blue Destiny too. And an interesting part about this too has to do with Marion, because she was in a coma, but her spirit, her essence, her soul was part of the exam unit and of these mobile suits that had it. So the Efreet Custom, the Blue Destinies, and so they would sometimes just kind of go out of control, because it was like her consciousness did not like what was going on. She did not like that her powers were being used for bad, for killing, and she didn't want to be a part of that. So sometimes when it would engage, the eyes or the sensors would turn red to kind of signify that this is occurring, and so the mobile suits would act all funky. And so to get an idea of the ending here, after losing his beloved machine in a collision with Hughes, Blue Destiny Unit 1, he, which I'm speaking about Nimbus, kills Dr. Clust, and takes the Blue Destiny Unit 2 to space. In the end, he engaged Hughes' Blue Destiny Unit 3 inside 5 space, but was defeated and died with Unit 3 as collateral damage. So what's really cool here is the end battle is between these two pilots that are making use of the exam system to enhance their abilities to be similar to a Newtype, and both of these are Gundam units. And they engage in a fight, and really that Federation wins at this time. And then something we noticed from one of those Gundam Blue Destiny units and from the Efreet Custom is red on both shoulders. That's something personal Nimbus does. You might recognize that. I think that stands out when you see this either Efreet Custom or this Gundam Blue Destiny Unit 2 that's all blue, but then it has the red shoulders. Very cool look. And that thing was either the manga or the video game, where they state that Marion, after the destruction of these Gundam units, she wakes up from her coma. But I think in the other version, it's unknown. And here's a cool little fact about you. I mentioned earlier that he was in the Neo-Zeon War with Amuro and Char and the asteroid. But specifically, he was a member of Londo Bell. He had an RGM-89 Jigen, which is awesome. And yeah, he assisted in pushing Axis. He also earned the nickname Blue Death. So there you go. I think that's pretty cool stuff. So that's it with the overall story of Blue Destiny and how it works. Again, you have this guy, Trust. He's, again, the name, Dr. Moses. He was with the Principality of Xeon. He didn't like Newtypes. He developed a system in order to help Oldtypes. which are people that are not Newtypes. And he used a Newtype for that, and she got in an accident, went into a coma. Her spirit fused with his exam system. He brought that technology when he defected to the Federation, which you got to think, is that good or bad? Were his actions in the first place good? I mean, I guess it's okay to develop this exam system. Was it his fault in a way that what happened to Marion? And in one of the stories, she survives in the end anyway, so I guess that's a good thing. But kind of interesting, the whole idea of the consciousness being trapped within the mobile suits. Very similar to what we see like in the After Unicorn when we get into narrative with the Phoenix. Kind of interesting things going on there where... yeah, that Newtype consciousness just goes beyond the material and kind of manifests itself within the technology used to fight more. And where in both those instances, they didn't really want to fight. It's more of due to these systems, whether it's the Newtype Labs or Flanagan Institute, they're being forced to fight. They're being taken advantage of because of their powers. But out of this, we get some awesome mobile suits. We get 3 Federation Blue Destiny units, technically 4. We get the GM, we get the blue GM, we get the blue Gundam looking one with the red shoulders, and then we get another Gundam looking one. That's the Blue Destiny Unit 3 used by you. And then we have the awesome Ifrit Custom. So anyway, very cool story. Let me know what you think or if there's any cool information that I missed. I'd like to get some more details. I'm going to need to try that PS3 game, Missing Link, or yeah, I think it's called Side Stories, and Missing Link is one of them, or something like that. I've started it, and that's like the first mission, but Blue Destiny's in there, and a bunch of other side stories, so I can like maybe further learn the plot. But anyway, thanks for watching. Please like the video if you liked it. Hey, and subscribe if you haven't. We'll talk later.